My name is Chebet Birir, Laura. I was born in Kitale District Hospital. I am a mother and a journalist by profession. Growing up, I grew up partly in Kitale, partly in Eldoret, and partly in Nairobi because my dad used to work in Nairobi. So we would come to Nairobi to visit him and stay for a bit. So I'd say I grew up in Kitale, Eldoret, and Nairobi. Eldoret because my mom used to work in Eldoret. Yeah. So growing up, I grew up in we were not poor and we were not rich. I'd say it was a stable family where our parents provided what they could, so we didn't lack. I wouldn't say I lacked. I met my now husband in high school. We dated for many years until after campus we had a baby. We had not planned for her, but you know, God's plan. So it was not easy because I just finished campus. I cleared campus in 2016. So when I got pregnant, I was so uncertain about so many things. How will I provide for my child? Are we even at a position to cater for our own needs in the first place? So it was really a challenging journey. But when I talked to my mother, my father, our parents actually understood, so they stood with us throughout the journey. But still, you know, you're just from campus and you don't have a job. In my mind, I was supposed to clear campus, get a job, get married, then, you know, a kid. But now this was a child out of wedlock first. Second, we can't cater for her. At least that's what we thought. But you know, God was able to help us cater for the child later when she came. So I would say it was a really not so easy journey, but with support from family, of course, we managed to get through. So I gave birth in Eldoret, yes, where my mother-in-law stays. So I was at my in-laws when I gave birth. It was easier because they were there for me. My mother-in-law was there for me. She's a great soul. But 3 months later, about 3 months after I gave birth, I fell into depression, postpartum depression. And I can say it was not easy. I remember the first time it started, it was Easter holiday, I think April. And the in-laws were coming to pay a visit to the child now, the cousins, my husband's cousins. So it was a huge bash. There was a tent, there was a lot of food. It was a whole celebration altogether. My mother-in-law is so extra. I love her for that. So it shook me, like, where this, I didn't know it was all this. So I think that is a trigger. That was a trigger for me. I was wondering, now all these people, all these celebrations, why? So I kept asking myself, hey, it looked like what's going on? So the depression kicked in when I started asking myself questions. Maybe it was a wedding and I didn't know. You know, it was now getting into delusions, believing things that don't exist. Maybe it was a wedding. Maybe they were telling me bye. You know, like so many questions were running through my mind, thoughts, until I was thinking a lot until I could not sleep. For days, I could not eat. For days, I didn't want to get out of the room. For days, I think at least 3-4 days, my mother-in-law noticed, I'm not okay. So when she noticed, when she actually gave me food, I refused the food, and that's when she noticed things are not okay. And she called my other family members, and they took me to hospital. And by the time we reached hospital, I was seeing my own things. I was starting to hear people say things that actually I realized didn't exist, things that were not actually real then. People were saying, oh, now she's not even a good mother, you're not a good person to your child. You know, at the tukifika hospitali sasa, there were a lot of people, you know, normally people are admitted to hospital before go. So I felt like all these people have come to see me, just me. And they were all talking insults and all that. So I panicked, I was paranoid. I was like, everybody is against me. Everybody wants me to die because I'm not a good person, I'm not a good mother. So it kept eating me up until I was just delusional. Yani it was bad. At that point, I tell you, I didn't even know my baby existed. Like, I was being told to breastfeed. I'm like, no, this is not my child. Maybe I didn't even give birth in the first place. Maybe I wasn't even pregnant in the first place. Can you believe that? Like, I was believing things that don't actually, they're not real. I remember I refused kabisa to be injected because I thought they want to inject me and kill me. So I want to die, but again, I don't want to die. It was just conflicting thoughts. And then I remember they actually had to call people to force me, wanishikilie, ndio nidungwe, the sedative. So they injected me, but still, I was supposed to sleep almost immediately, but apparently I didn't sleep because in my mind I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want the meds to work because I knew if I sleep, I die. So I was so paranoid. So again, I didn't sleep. I was so sleepy. I'm feeling sleepy, but I'm fighting it. So it was really a hard, tough battle. I realized it's genetic, especially after I took a psychology minor in Daystar. So I got to learn about my family, the background of my family, and that's how I realized this thing is genetic. And it's me who has got the genes from my grandmother. So that's how I got to understand it later. Like, not when I was going through it. You know, I did the course, but I didn't know it would hit me. Like, I just knew I'm predisposed. It could happen to me because it's genetic. But I didn't really know that it would happen to me. And it would hit me that hard to a point where I'm seeing and hearing things that don't exist. So it was really hard. And after that, I decided I'll research a lot about this problem. And when I Googled it, it brought psychosis. So when I read about psychosis, I learned that, yes, I was actually going through postpartum psychosis, which was as a result of postpartum depression, which went untreated. So, you know, when postpartum depression is not treated, it turns into psychosis. And postpartum depression starts with anxiety. You start feeling anxious, like after the bash when they came to see my baby, I was anxious. You remember I told you I was wondering, hey, the big bash, why is it so big? So I was anxious. After anxiety, now I started feeling panicky. I started having panic attacks, and that's how it led into depression and psychosis. And so it came twice, in April and sometime in August. Now this time I was in Nairobi with my husband, and his friends had come to visit. Okay, before they came to visit, I had started again feeling anxious about jobs. I'd applied for jobs and not getting any job. There's a child who depends on me. I can't keep on depending on my parents, you know. I started feeling anxious. I panicked. I started feeling paranoid. I called my mom, nikamwambia, mesioni nitaipata job. I've tried. I've applied. It's not working. I've even tried online writing. It's not working. So I've just, like, I had given up. And I cried over the phone. And my mom just said, you know what, just come home. Yeah, she's just the best. So before I went home, I had already started hallucinating again. I started feeling delusional. So I didn't even want to leave the house. You know, I'm supposed to go home, back to Kericho, to my mom. But I'm feeling paranoid. I'm feeling that people will kill me when I get out because I'm a bad person, I'm a bad mother, I'm terrible at this. I mean, it wasn't even meant for me, motherhood, that is. So the previous, again, I didn't shower for days. I refused to shower. I didn't go, I mean, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for days. I couldn't change my child's diaper. So they took me home by force because I even didn't want to get into the car. They brought a taxi all the way to where we were living, but I didn't want to get into the car. I thought that car was good. Like, I started imagining now it's a house and they're going to maybe kill me somewhere on the way. So I remember even when we got to town in Nairobi, CBD now, there was a loud engine. The Subaru cars, you know how they blew. So I was shocked. I thought it was now a gun. A gun, they wanted to shoot me. I was really paranoid and hallucinating. So I could hear people say, you are not good. You're not a good person. People would pass and I'm imagining they're telling me, you're going to die. And nobody was telling me that. But in my mind, all those people were telling, all those people in town, I felt like they all wanted me to die, and they had set up a place for me to be taken now with the car that came, and then I was going to be killed somewhere. When we traveled, I didn't even carry my child. My cousin who traveled with me carried her the whole time. And I think I remember seeing a bottle of uji, which was given to her. You know, at that time she was now weaning, at least she could eat other foods, solid foods and you know, uji and all that. So when we traveled, we got to Kericho, and on the way, I also saw things, signposts that said otherwise. I would see legs for sale, for example. So I thought they want to take my leg and sell it. It was really hard. It was really hard. A lot of thoughts going through my mind. I remember at a stopover in Nakuru, I didn't want to alight from the car because I thought if I alight, I'm dying. My husband must have been going through a rough time because he was not, probably didn't understand what's going on. Like, he was there for me throughout. Like, he didn't even at one point decide that he wants to leave me or anything of that sort. He was there with me through it all, and I'm so grateful for him. So yeah, it was a rough time for him. It must have been a really tough time because he didn't, you know, not everybody is aware of mental health, like mental illness. Personally, I wasn't even aware what I'm going through. So you can imagine people around me, they don't know exactly what's bothering me. Sometimes when I look at my child, she's 3 years old now, 3 years and some months, almost 4 years, turning 4 in January 2021. So when I look at her, sometimes I feel so guilty for making her go through all that, especially the times when I refused to breastfeed her, the times when I couldn't, the times when I couldn't believe she existed, or I couldn't believe that I'm a mother, and I feel bad, but you know, the reassurance that she's still here, I'm still here, there's a chance for me to, you know, make it better for her. So every day I make sure that she doesn't have to go through the same situation she went through, especially when she was 3 months old. You know, I refused to breastfeed her, and they had to give her cow's milk, and you know it's not really good for us at such a tiny baby. So I really feel guilty sometimes, but God's grace. My husband didn't really understand what was going on, but he tried. You know, he's a very understanding person. He tries to understand what's going on, no matter the situation. He keeps calm, you know. He's such a calm person, and I'm learning to be like him every day. So during that time, I know he was going through a lot, but he really tried to be calm and explain. I'm not sure, but you know, I wasn't in their presence, but I know he explained to his friends, you know. He told them she's not feeling so well, so later on they understood. They didn't really understand it 100%. But when I shared my story now, because nobody knew what was going on in my mind, not a single person, until the day when I started sharing my story, that's now when they started understanding, and they're like, wow. So this was, I remember when I shared my story on WhatsApp, the very first time, the friends were like, so this is what you are going through. We didn't really know. And they were really sorry. And now they understand. My mom was really concerned. In fact, the moment I called her, told her, I don't think I'm going to get a job, because I had Googled, I thought I had schizophrenia. So I Googled schizophrenia, and Google said that people with schizophrenia are not capable of holding a job. They're not capable. You can get a job, but you won't hold it. So it really got to me. I was like, no wonder I'm applying for jobs and I'm not getting. No wonder I tried the online writing and it didn't work, because I thought, yes, I'm schizophrenic and it's never going to work. I'm never going to get a job. So that's why I called my mom. I told her, I don't think I'm ever going to get a job. So she was really worried. But again, she tried to really understand. So I know she prayed, she prays for me all the time. So God gives her the grace to just understand and be there for me, because she's been through it all with me, every single step. And I really thank God for her. Right now, I have a second child, another girl. She's almost 3 months old. This time again, it almost came. It actually came, let me be honest. But this time, I was talking a lot. Postpartum psychosis manifests itself in 2 ways. You're either too silent and depressed and not talking to anyone, or you're too loud and talking too much and talking to everyone. So this time I was too loud and talking to everyone, and also having these beliefs that don't exist. This time when I was talking about a lot about religion, a lot about why bad things happen, and a lot about, I also talked a lot about my workplace, but of course good things. I was telling them, you don't support my brand, you don't support my work, but they were not real. So this time they were aware that it could come back. So the moment I started talking like that and all that, they knew this is something wrong. So they called a doctor who prescribed antipsychotics for me. This time I didn't have to go to hospital. So they gave me antipsychotics, and after some days I was okay. I mean, it's not so far back. It's just like a month ago, and I'm fine now. I can talk about it. So having supportive family and friends who understand you, it really helps. Because if they didn't understand it, the situation that recurred would probably be worse. Because I was shouting. At some point, I almost became violent, because I remember telling them to show me someone I wanted to see, so that I could believe what I'm actually going through is real. So I told them, show me this person. I won't mention him, but they took time. So the more they didn't show me this person, even the face, I started getting agitated, and I almost got violent. I didn't really get violent, but I remember I pulled my cousin. I told him, after now they showed me the photo, I was like, was that too much to ask? They thought again I would refuse the meds like the first time, but this time I was accepting everything, but only from my husband. I was like, I'm not taking anything else. I only trust my husband. So if he gives me, even I was telling him, even if you give me 1,000 pills, I'll take, because I trust you. So I took the medicine, and that's why this time it worked faster than the first time, because I accepted to take the medication, even though at that point I didn't know exactly what was happening. When you get into psychosis, you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's happening around you. So later on is when I was healed, when the medication worked, that's when I realized, hey, I was going crazy. Yeah. So yes, My husband was supportive. And again, I went to Kericho to my mom. Being with my mom, it really helps. Being with your mom really helps. So the healing process was faster because I was with my mom. I also went to my mother-in-law. So the healing process was faster this time. A lot of women are suffering silently from postpartum depression and psychosis. I haven't had so many cases of psychosis because it happens to every 1 to 2 in every 1,000 women globally. So yes, psychosis is rare, but it happens. And I think the most recurring and the most prevalent is postpartum depression, which happens in a lot of women and they suffer silently. They don't know it's postpartum depression. And how to know it's postpartum depression, and this is for family and friends and support system. When you see a mother not caring for their baby, don't judge that woman. Because naturally, a mother is supposed to take care of the baby. That's natural. It's inborn. So when it starts happening otherwise, just know that she's not okay. She needs help. Don't judge them. Don't start, throwing insults at them. You're not a good mother. You should breastfeed. No, seek help. Seek help for them so that they can be able to be better mothers, and the society will be a better place, of course. So to parents, to mothers out there who are suffering depression, you might not know, because when you're depressed, you don't know you're depressed. But I can say it starts with anxiety. You will feel when you're anxious. So when you feel anxiety, reach out. There's baby blues and then there's anxiety. There's the normal baby blues. You're tired, you're too exhausted, you can't when you're exhausted, you can't take care. So at that time, seek help. Like, let someone take care of your baby for you. It's okay to ask for help because you can't do everything on your own, especially mothers, they have a lot. And when you don't have a house help, it can have a huge toll on you. So I'd say before you give birth as a mother, make sure you have someone with you. Don't suffer alone. Don't, after childbirth, be with someone. Don't think you can do it alone, because really you can't. Make sure you have a very strong support system with you. Be it your husband or your sister or even your mother. Go stay with your mother even. That's why they say go stay with your mother for some time until you can regain strength to, go back to work. That's why there's maternity leave for 3 months, because you're supposed to, the attention is supposed to be on your baby. So if you start feeling anxious, you feel like you don't want to take care of your baby for days and weeks, that's a red flag. Seek help. So for me, I've started a blog where I write when, releasing when I feel stressed, I write about it. Also, taking a walk helps, coping mechanisms, seeking, letting people take care of your baby for you when you're tired. Yeah, that's what I do. So I'd advise now the healing process. If you've been depressed, there's a chance it will come back. Even if it's not postpartum depression per se, there's a high chance it can come back. If you've been depressed before, or you've experienced postpartum depression or any other type of mental illness, there's a high chance that it would come back. So for me, my coping mechanism, I started a blog. It's called Chebet Birir.co.ke, where when I feel stressed, I write about it, or even when I'm happy, I write about it. Like, it's a very nice place to release your emotions. So for those, it doesn't have to be writing. You can take a walk, just take a walk, visit friends, let someone take care of your baby, let someone take care of your chores for you, and take a walk. It helps. Yeah, just find some coping mechanism that will help you go on and want to live, things that make you happy, so you want to experience life and not die. Actually, that's basically it. So to anyone out there who is suffering in silence, I just want you to know that this shall pass. It shall pass. It will be over. I went through it and I came out a victor, a conqueror. So it will be over. You'll be fine.